Okay, let's look at syllable division. This will be done on the screen, of course, but you and I could implement it in our classroom with magnetic letters where students manipulate the sounds, manipulate the syllables to understand the sounds, or we could use note cards with words printed on them, and children would cut them at the syllable dividing line and talk about why the vowels make the sounds that they do after we have explicitly taught them how they work.
Knowing the 6 syllable types will help you with syllable division and pronouncing long words. On the next 10 slides, try to sort the syllables before the timer sounds. Then
Okay, so let's try this one. Open vowel at the end of the syllable makes the vowel long. Vowel followed by a consonant and a one-syllable word makes the vowel short. Spend just a second sorting those in your mind, and then we will check our answers. Okay, so we can talk about why the vowels are making the sounds that they're making based on their location in the syllable. You can address how Y is behaving as a vowel rather than a consonant in this open syllable. Here's another opportunity for sorting: vowel, consonant, silent E syllables versus vowel pair / vowel team. Take just a quick second and sort those. Okay, so the students learn to locate their vowels first and produce the most likely sound that that vowel or vowel team is going to make in its position in the syllable. And then if the most likely sound doesn't seem to work, then they know to move on to the next most likely sound. Okay, one more: vowel, consonant, silent E, and final stable syllables. Okay, so the purpose of all of this is to help students understand why the vowels are making the sounds that they're making, what the most likely pronunciation of that word is, and so they are able to decode it accurately. Additionally, that knowledge helps them with their spelling. Okay, looking at the next level of our literacy instruction, we're going to include morphology when we study the meaningful elements in words. That would include base words, plain words that can stand alone, but they can also become a derivative when we add prefixes and suffixes. We look at root words that come into our language from other languages. We know ours is an amalgamation of many. Most common are Greek and Latin roots, and those carry a lot of meaning. So once we teach that to students, that aids in their reading, of course, but also in their comprehension, vocabulary development, orthography, you name it. We talk about the meanings that prefixes and suffixes carry. Research shows us that morphological awareness is associated with improved word identification, spelling, vocabulary, and reading comprehension. And this amazing resource to the right was introduced to me here at the Woodlands Methodist School, and it has been used and referred to in 3 different grad school classes now. So I say that just to let you know that it is definitely worth its weight, and it is a wonderful resource. So should you choose at your table to do this activity, choose a base word from this list provided: art, happy, teach, agree, school, and dress. Add a prefix and or suffix to your base word. Explain the meaning of each of your morphemes and how they work together to make meaning. Use your word in a sentence. Illustrate your word and share it with the group. If you choose to do that, just go ahead and pause me. Okay, a fourth component we want to make sure that we address in our reading instruction is syntax. Syntax is just the way that our sentences go together. It is the function of words and how they convey meaning. So we teach our students explicitly parts of speech, sentence structure, punctuation, and capitalization. Why is this so important to our striving readers? Because Syntactic awareness is the ability to manipulate or judge the word order within context. This awareness allows our students to read fluently and accurately by predicting what word will come next in the text. So this in turn supports their reading comprehension. An activity you may try at your tables or later today or in the future is looking at this picture, write a sentence to describe it. Make sure your sentence includes at least 2 nouns, 1 preposition, and 1 verb. The third step is to code your sentence using multisensory grammar. Then switch with another table and check one another's punctuation and grammar. Additionally, you could write these sentences that your class came up with on sentence strips, have them cut them apart. I'm thinking pre-K, K1, where one word stops and another starts. They could sort nouns, verbs. They could sort them by parts of speech. You could start at the oral level and just have your students identify the nouns in the picture. Come up with verbs these nouns could be doing. What are some prepositions that we could use that would make sense in this picture? Additionally, those sentences could be compiled into a little book and become a familiar read in the classroom library or a browsing box or whatever you choose. The fifth component that we want to make sure we are adding into our reading instruction is semantics, the aspect of our language concerned with meaning. Our students should have opportunities to use words in different functions, show that words have multiple meanings and that therefore affects the comprehension of the sentence or the passage. And we need to instruct them on how to make that appropriate word choice. Our vocabulary can come from all the subject areas, classroom read-alouds, articles you're sharing, newspaper, you name it. Your vocabulary can come from anywhere. The possibilities are endless. Going back to multiple meanings of words, I was working with a student just yesterday and we were discussing the multiple meanings of the word course, C-O-U-R-S-E. And we came up with a few, and then when we checked in the dictionary, we realized there were quite a few more. So knowing that words have multiple meanings, multiple uses really does aid in their vocabulary development and reading comprehension. Here's another NIHOUSE resource that's outstanding. Developing metacognitive skills. Here is just one multisensory component you can incorporate, the semantic web. There are many different ones. I just chose this one for today's purposes. You might be reading a novel together with your class and you have gone through and sorted words that you feel need further explanation, and that would be how you would use this web. The word is at the top, the part of speech, the word itself again, language of origin, which plays into morphology and understanding of the word, the definition, synonyms, antonyms, adjectives, or adverbs depending on part of speech, and then showing further understanding by using that word in a sentence. You could take it a step further and have the student illustrate the word, if that's appropriate for your grade level or the student you're working with. Here's one filled in. Okay. Fluency. I feel like fluency often gets overlooked or misunderstood, or maybe that's just been my personal experience, but I'm learning a lot about it. It includes reading automatically and accurately and with prosody. We want those melodic features of our speech to be in our reading fluency. It is not necessarily about reading quickly. In fact, our readers may need to slow down so that they can process the information that we're reading. What are some ways we can practice this? These are all multisensory approaches in this list because when you think about it, students are reading with their eyes, they are listening with their ears, they are touching the text with their eyes, so to speak, but also with their fingers if necessary. And so we are allowing them all those different modalities in which to practice and create those new pathways. One method that is particularly interesting to me, that is new for me, neurological impress method, when the teacher and student read the same text almost simultaneously, but the teacher is reading slightly faster and louder, so that she is etching that fluency, that process into the mind of her student. And they, of course, need to follow along with their eyes and their fingers, and it needs to be repeated several times, but I have used this and found it to be quite effective. Early childhood teachers, look how well y'all are doing by incorporating all of these methods that are multisensory and involve the child so well. Finally, the big prize, what's it all about? Comprehension, of course. It is not simply a matter of one reader understanding reading one way. We all bring our interpretations, reactions, emotional responses to the text, and therefore we construct a different meaning than our friend right beside us. The experience is unique to each reader. Research indicates strong readers often use comprehension strategies automatically, whereas our striving readers often do not. So that's where our explicit instruction comes in and helps them to internalize and self-regulate their thinking when reading. Research supports that our comprehension strategies should be taught in the context of really good books rather than in isolation. We should also present that strategies are tools for our students to use rather than learning the strategy just for the sake of the strategy. Effective use of strategies is driven by a student's own metacognition, which has two parts: an awareness of how they are thinking and learning, and then beyond that, the ability to self-regulate or change their learning approach if what they initially were doing wasn't working. While there are many comprehension strategies we can teach our readers, it is important to engage their thinking before, during, and after the reading. And so all of this we are modeling explicitly with our language and our think-alouds. Here's a resource that I cannot recommend highly enough. It addresses these strategies that I was mentioning. It gives possible scripts that you may want to use so that you are modeling exactly how you want your students to be thinking about what they're reading and then what to do with that information. It's the Teaching Reading Sourcebook by the Core Literacy Library. I just want to thank you for all you do to encourage the love of reading, teachers. We know that our boys and girls need to hear us reading proficiently every day, and our striving readers need it abundantly. We want to immerse our students in words and sounds and expose them to interesting ideas so that their curiosity is built and their souls are nurtured. Thank you again so much, and I hope you have a great day. Feel free to reach out with any questions.